Hey guys, come on downstairs. Welcome to our second episode of Career Mode Las Vegas. It's Microsoft Flight Simulator, and we will be doing job number 2 here today. Let's recap job number 1, Hoover Dam inspection. We flew a guy to Boulder City, made $1,500 after our fuel costs and our ramp parking fee. We come out with $56,016.88, and that will be our starting balance for this job number 2. Our fleet consists of one airplane at this point. It's a used 1980 Cessna 152 that we bought for $45,000. It's going to be our workhorse for a while until we earn enough money to buy a bigger and better plane. Quick briefing for job number 2. An accident occurred at a gold mine in Ely, Nevada. We are flying a mine inspector in to make an accident report. So very simple. Let's get this guy up to Ely. He can make his accident report on the incident there in the gold mine. Quick look at our route. We will be navigating around the Vortac ILC, which is a 116.3 frequency. We're going to go to it on one radial and then go away from it to Ely Airport on another radial. I weigh 226 pounds. I could stand to lose 30 pounds or so. And our mine inspector weighs 200 pounds. We're carrying 9.75 gallons of fuel in each tank, left and right. Let's get the fuel valve on and fire this little used plane up. Mixture rich. Crack open the throttle just a bit here. Just a smidgen, quarter of an inch or so, half inch. And carburetor cold, make sure it's cold. Turn on some electricals here, battery and alternator. And we'll go ahead and prime it a couple times. Okay, should only really prime it twice, I think, maybe. I don't know why I'm doing it 7 times. I'm going to flood the engine. Oh well. Not really. I don't think it's possible to flood it in Flight Simulator, but anyway. Alright, magnetos right, left, both, and start. That's a great sound. I love it. Love the engine fire up on these piston airplanes. Alright, let's set our nav radios. Get our radial set that we want to find.
North Las Vegas Airport information, Oscar 1800 Zulu. Wind 299er F4. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 5. Dew point 10. Altimeter 30.22. ILS runway 12 left and visual runway 12 right in use. Landing and departing runway 30 right and runway 30 left. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have Oscar.
North Las Vegas ground Cessna Bravo Gulftree with Papa request taxi for takeoff north departure.
Cessna Bravo Gulftree taxi to and hold short of runway 30 left via taxiway Charlie Bravo Kilo. Contact tower on 119.15 when ready.
Taxiing hold short runway 30 left via taxiway Charlie Bravo Kilo Cessna Bravo Gulftree.
And so adding that parasite drag is pretty much the only way you can simulate wear and tear in Flight Simulator at this point. Okay, we are taxiing to runway 30 left. There's a slight breeze coming out of the north, so we will be taking off from the south to the north, which works out pretty well because we are headed north in this trip. We'll actually be heading up into the snow. Doing flights from Vegas in and around the Vegas area we're not going to encounter too much snow. But in this one, this is a pretty good sized trip for us, 203 nautical miles. We're going to get into some snow on our way up to Ely, Nevada. Alright, so if you caught the first episode, I did mention that
North Las Vegas Tower Cessna Bravo Golf Tree at runway tree 0 left ready for departure to the north.
We'll get this clearance in
Cessna
quick.
Bravo Golf Tree altimeter 30.22, wind 299er at 4. North departure approved. Cleared for takeoff runway tree 0 left.
Cleared for takeoff runway tree 0 left Cessna Bravo Golf Tree.
So if you caught the first episode, you remember I talked about air traffic control and having to take my hands off the yoke to do it every time, because I'm using the Xbox controller to bring up the menu bar and all that. So this is the last episode where I did that. I think after this episode, starting in job number 3, I managed to set some buttons on the yoke to bring it up and then use the keyboard so that I don't have to take my hand off the yoke. So bear with me in the first little bit of this flight. I think I cut some of it out actually. Alright, should be rotating about here. And once again, I wait too long. Probably need to set my trim a little bit more, because it feels like I had to pull back pretty hard to get the plane to the nose to lift up. Because I think I started rotating when I was supposed to, but the trim isn't set correctly, so it took a little more rotation to get the nose up. Right, so we skipped ahead here after takeoff. I had a little bit of trouble with the air traffic control, trying to keep the plane stable and deal with, you know, flight following and all that good stuff. So I skipped ahead of that. It got a little bit sketchy. Next episode, that's all taken care of and I've ironed that out. So we're heading north. We're probably, I don't know, 15 miles or so north of the city limits of North Las Vegas at this point. And Ely is located straight north of Vegas and maybe a little bit to the east, I want to say. Not very much though. It's fairly directly north of Las Vegas. And once again, this was literally my second flight ever in the Cessna 152, and I've mostly been flying commercial airliners, so I've learned a little bit since this flight. Again, I didn't what are we at? We're almost at 8,000 feet here, and I don't think I've leaned the mixture at all. So I mean, after a few episodes, we start to learn some things. So I have the navlog window because I was trying to do some dead reckoning and keep some times, but that also got difficult. I mean, when the difficulty started arising with ATC and I couldn't keep my plane on track, it really just kind of messed up the dead reckoning, because dead reckoning's not going to work because you're trying to keep time. It's not going to work if you're zigzagging. You know, it's just going to mess up your time frame. So after a while, I bailed on the navlog and the stopwatch and dead reckoning. This plane, the Cessna 152, very, very basic. There's no autopilot. There's no GPS. Not even a distance measuring equipment in this plane. So we set our VOR, and the only way we can tell when we've reached the VOR is when the little gray arrow that you see in the NAV1 instrument changes from pointing up to pointing back down. So once that is changed, you know you have reached your VOR station, and you're now heading away from it. Whereas if you have distance measuring equipment, it will tell you how far you are away, and so you know. I mean, it makes it nice to know how far you are away. It's kind of, especially when you're really watching your fuel closely. It's nice to know how far you are away, actually, from that VOR station. If you've got a pretty stiff headwind, I mean, you might be able to feel it or sense that you're not moving as fast as you could, but you really have no way of knowing. So distance measuring equipment would be nice. Alright, so we are at 10,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 6,500 feet. Expect ILS runway 26 right approach via flicker transition.
And
Clear to flicker
the line that we're
Bravo
on,
Golf Tree, acknowledge last transmission.
sorry, the line that we're on, I didn't like our altitude, so I decided let's just hop over this ridge here and maybe take the line on the other side of this mountain range. But oh my goodness, we got a little downdraft there, and this got really scary right here. So this got really scary. Air traffic control is trying to talk to me, and I just had to ignore him because we're dealing with a situation up here. We're right along this ridge, and we're dealing with we're getting thrown around a little bit by the wind, by these downdrafts. And yeah, that was a little scary for a second. There's a couple of there's a few scary moments in this flight. Like, yeah, you'll see as we get in. Like,
Cessna Bravo Golf Tree ATC services terminated.
I ignored them. I ignored them long enough that they terminated my flight following. Oh well. I'll get back with them in a second here once we feel like we're out of the woods, which I guess we kind of feel like now. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty high mountain range over here north of Vegas. You know, we are at what, 10,400 or 10,300 feet. And we're still below the ridgeline, I think, or just barely above it. So we hopped over this ridge, so that, as you can see on the VOR, we need to get back to our left to catch that radial. But the mountains off to our left, I just wanted to get on the other side of them.
Cessna 152 3 miles north of North Las Vegas, 10,400 feet. Request flight following.
Cessna Bravo Golf Tree, Los Angeles Center. Squawk 0777.
Okay, so we're 23 miles north of North Las Vegas, which basically means we have 180 miles left to go. This was a long flight, I'm not going to lie.
Squawk 0777 Cessna Bravo Golf Tree.
It was more than I anticipated.
Cessna Bravo Golf Tree radar. Contact 23 miles north of North Las Vegas, 10,400 feet. Altimeter tree 0.24.
So once again, this is just the second time that I have even tried to fly this Cessna 152. And I promise I get better at it. I get better at maintaining altitude and get better at trimming it out. I get better at it. The first couple of flights were a little bit all over the place. I'm still not great. I'm sure, I mean, even after I've done 10 flights in this, I'm sure people are going to be catching things that I do wrong. So That's just the way it is. I'm not a real life pilot, but I'm trying to learn. So once again, this mountain range is very, I mean, it's an obstacle we had to deal with in this flight. And this Cessna 152 is extremely lightweight. So, like, the downdraft coming over that ridge really pushed my right wing down. And really, it just kind of feels like your plane bottoms out. Like you feel a little free fall. And yeah, it scared me, actually. Not that I felt it, I'm just saying, like, that's what it appeared to do, was kind of free fall for a second. So we're north of Vegas. We're going to go through several areas north of Vegas here that appear quite dry, and then we'll start to get into the snow. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. Every time we do that transition, it means I've skipped ahead a little bit in the flight, sometimes further than other times, but at some point here in this cruise, we're going to turn it over to a few cinematics, because there's not tons to talk about when we've got our plane all stabilized and trimmed out correctly, and there's not a lot of turbulence, which is kind of appears that we're at about now. So beautiful colors in the desert. Really like flying in the desert on Flight Simulator. Lots of different shadows, and especially in HDR, the range of color is quite nice. This capture card that I have is not 4K. It is HD. It's not HDR. But I mean, it's a pretty basic Elgato capture card. I really would like to upgrade, but I don't know, there's so many other things on my list of wants that are probably a higher priority. Thought this was a pretty cool looking little mountain range, and you've got I don't know if there's actually water in those runoff areas. It looks like there might be in some of them.
You are 22 miles north. Descend and maintain 6,500 feet. Expect ILS runway 26 right approach via flicker transition. Clear to flick.
A lot of area in Nevada, a lot of open, unsettled, like, just, it's wide open, man. I think Nevada is actually the most mountainous state of the lower 48. If I remember hearing correctly, there's more mountain ranges in the state of Nevada than there is in any other of the lower 48 states. Obviously, my guess is Alaska probably has more mountain ranges than any state. Alright, well, it's got a nice little river there. Move ahead a little bit. So you can see way off in the distance above the airplane, there's some snow-capped mountains up there. We're not far. We're very shortly going to get into the snow. That looks like a nice dry lake bed. It's almost like you can still see where the runoff stream emptied into it is still a little bit wet. Again, just absolutely beautiful. Just the range of colors in the desert is just fantastic. So I used to work, I had a coworker once that was from Ely, Nevada. Quite a little mining town. So we skip ahead once again, and we have the snow-covered mountains in sight. It will not be long before we reach them. Yeah, I had a coworker from Ely, Nevada. He used to sing all the time. Like, I think it was his nervous habit. Like, we're driving to different jobs, and he would just be like singing. We would be in people's houses, random people we don't know, and he would just be like singing at the top of his lungs in this house. And I mean, I got used to it after a while, but at first I was kind of like, serious, buddy? But yeah, he was from Ely, Nevada. A little bit of turbulence here over these mountains. And again, I should have my mixture leaned. I don't think I do. It's not really affecting this plane that much, to be honest. I mean, later on when I did learn what I was doing in the next, I don't know what, after episode 4 or 5 or something like that, like when I would lean my mixture, I could get a few more RPMs, but not much, to be honest. Okay, another little skip ahead. We are in the snow. It's winter in northern Nevada, north central Nevada. So we've been tracking this VOR that's up here in these mountains. We're starting to get close to it. You can see the needles kind of going to get a little bit less stable. So it might move from the left side to the right side a little faster the closer we get to it. But we will be, I think it was the only VOR that we were navigating around on this flight. So once we hit the VOR, we're going to find a different radial away from it and navigate away from it at that radial. Which should, if we stay on track, should get us to the Ely, Nevada airport. If we are off track, we might get lost. I did read a story about a plane that was somewhere around Ely, Nevada. I want to say it was in 2016, something like that, that actually did get lost in a winter storm and tuned into the Ely weather information, which gave him some incorrect information, and his plane ended up going down, and I don't think that he survived it. But it came out that the weather information was actually incorrect that he got. That's a little bit scary. As we get up towards Ely, hey, I could definitely see how that could happen in this area if it was overcast and snowy. And I mean, there's no shortage of mountain ranges and obstacles. Alright, so we just passed the VOR. The arrow just turned backwards, or just turned down, and that needle is just swinging back and forth. It just jumped all the way across to the right side. So right now it's saying we want to go to the right, but yeah, I need to reset my CDI to a different course. The course we want to follow away from the radial is 331 degrees, which now that that's set, it tells us we need to go back to the left. And this was such a long flight, guys. I totally underestimated how much time it was going to take me in this little Cessna to fly 203 nautical miles. And with all the zigzagging we did, especially at the first, probably ended up being closer to like 230 nautical miles by the time we actually get there. So I think from here it's our last little transition into snow-covered terrain.
Sunwing Niner 212, contact Salt Lake Center on 133.45. Good day.
And we have moved from Los Angeles Center flight following to Salt Lake City Center flight following. And we're getting pretty close now.
133.45, Sunwing Niner 212.
We are getting pretty close, actually. In fact, I think Ely is up underneath that mountain that's straight off of our nose. I think. If it's not there, then I think we have to move like one valley to the west or to the left, and then it's up under the mountains over there. But that kind of looks to me like that's, I mean, we're headed straight at that mountain, so, well, I could be wrong actually. I think, let's see, 331. Yeah, actually, I think it's actually under the mountains on the valley to the left. Now that we have found that radial and straightened it out, that looks like that's where we're headed. So we're just about to cross over into the valley that Ely is located in, and it's on the north end of the valley up underneath the mountains. Several gold mines in the area. We're bringing this mine inspector up to make an accident report. My father-in-law was actually a mine inspector. He just retired a few years ago from it, but he was, I'm trying to
Bravo Golf
think.
3, contact Salt Lake Center on 133.45. Good day.
He was actually the head of the one region that included.
133.45 for Cessna Bravo Golf Tree.
He was the head of a region that included mines in Idaho and Utah. Not Idaho, sorry, Wyoming and Utah. So this mine wouldn't have been in his jurisdiction, but all right. So Ely Airport, we're getting there. Let's check out the weather before we select a runway. How about we do that?
Kilo Echo Lima Yankee, automated weather observation 2000 Zulu. Wind 168 at 11. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature -20°C, dew point 10°C, altimeter 3021.
Ooh. It's cold in Ely.
Kilo Echo Lima Yankee, automated weather
Minus 20
observation,
Celsius in Ely
2000
compared to, I
Zulu.
think we were at 7
Wind 168 at 11.
Celsius in Vegas.
Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature -20°C, dew point 10°C, altimeter 3021.
And we've got a pretty
Kilo
stiff
Echo
wind.
Lima Yankee,
Okay,
automated weather observation,
we don't need to hear this
2000
15 times.
Zulu. Wind 168 at 11.
Okay, so we got a pretty stiff wind coming out of the south. So we're going to want to circle around and land on runway 18.
Kilo Echo Lima Yankee traffic Cessna Bravo Golf Tree 23 miles southeast 12,000 feet inbound to land runway 18.
So the wind was 11 knots coming from the south, which is probably about 13, 14 miles an hour. Pretty significant wind for this little airplane. We get through a few more cinematics as we cross into the valley. And now we actually have the airport in sight. It's straight ahead. And the town of Ely is off to the left, off to the west of the airport. We move ahead just a little bit more here. There you can see the airport. The black lines there are the runways. Good to see they're not covered in snow. Sometimes you'll get these runways in these areas. I guess it's more like the dirt runways will be snow covered. The asphalt and concrete runways have different textures, so, and they don't usually get snow covered. There's often snow on the runway, but you can still see the center lines, and there's you know, asphalt to touch down on. I remember flying back to Logan once with my uncle from St. George, where we landed on a runway that was just like, I don't know, 60% covered in slush. It was a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was in a private jet, so it had the reverse thrust, so we didn't have to worry about braking and sliding or anything like that, because the reverse thrust would slow us down without, you know.
Kilo Echo Lima Yankee traffic Cessna Bravo Golf Tree is on base runway 18.
All right, so here we go. We are, I don't think we're actually on base. I think we're about to turn on to base right now. We're still on downwind. And yeah, see, we're still on downwind, and we're just turning on to base right now. So I don't know why I kind of jumped the gun on doing that.
Kilo Echo Lima Yankee traffic Cessna Bravo Golf Tree is on final runway 18 to land.
Yeah, now I'm actually on base, and I'm saying that I'm on final. I think that was just a matter of like, I've got the airplane stable, let's say it while the airplane's stable so that I don't have to take my hands off the yoke later. I think I do better at that once I get that button on the yoke that brings up the ATC menu, and I don't have to take my hands off. So we are turning on to final here on runway 18 in Ely, Nevada. All right. So it says my heading right now is like 215, and it should be closer to 180. So my compass is either messed up or this is not the right runway. Or the runway's just mislabeled. Either way, I don't want to land on the wrong runway. And it looks like we need to turn to the left to get to the heading 180. So maybe that other runway is runway 18. So we're lined up. We've announced that we're on final, but I think we're going to abort this and go over to that other runway, because there's no way that runway 18 should have a heading of 210. That's weird. Alright, so I abort this landing here in just a second, and I head over to that other runway. Now this is a little bit of a crap show. And obviously we don't have a ton of altitude here, so yeah, we're heading over to try to find runway 18. I think we may have chose the wrong one, maybe. So we're going missed on that runway. Still a little bit confused here at my headings, and we've got about 60 knots, and we're gaining some elevation because I don't want to be this low to the ground. Alright, we move ahead. We're over here to this other runway. Let's see if its heading is more like 18, 0, and we're almost on final here. Not super lined up straight. Man, what a crap show this has turned into. Obviously, if there was a real life person in the tower, they could have confirmed to me that which runway was 18. They'd be like, hey dude, you're lined up on the wrong runway, buddy. You're coming into the wrong runway, man. But obviously, there's nobody there to tell me that. Okay, so our heading is more like 170, 165. I don't, what the heck? This doesn't seem right either. All right, let's actually get close enough to look at the runway here. What runway is this? Runway 12? What the heck? Alright, we're aborting this landing. We're not landing on runway 12. Oh, we're getting low. Now we've got to gain some altitude. We don't have much speed. We're almost at stall speed, guys. 40 knots. Oh, come on. We don't have any more throttle to give it either. Oh, we've got to go up really easy. Oh my gosh. Oh man, I think that was the stall warning that just started to buzz. Are you kidding me? Oh geez, don't turn too sharp, buddy. You're gonna lose lift. Oh, there's our shadow. That's nice. Yeah, not getting close to the ground or anything here. Alright, now we're getting our airspeed up. We should be a little more safe. Alright, that was dangerous for a second. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Everybody in the airport's like, what the hell is going on out there? Alright. Let's see if we can get a look at this runway and confirm that it's 18 and figure out what's going on here. We are so confused at this point. We are so bloody confused. So bloody confused. Alright. This one is runway 18. What the heck? Is it mislabeled? So this is runway 18. That's it. That's the runway we want, but the heading was like 210. My compass is not right. So apparently what I forgot was I've got to calibrate the compass before I fly. And what I ridiculously didn't realize is that there's a compass up on the windshield that tells the correct heading. Never saw it. Never knew it was there until after this, when I was trying to figure out what I did wrong on this. But my compass is off. It is not correct. So it's kind of amazing that we even got here. And no wonder we were all over the place. No wonder we couldn't keep the VOR needle lined up. Like, no wonder we couldn't do that. We were never on the right radial heading, ever, the whole time. No wonder this flight was supposed to be like a 2-hour flight and it took me like 3 hours. That all makes sense now. Now that I'm looking at it in hindsight and have learned a few things about this plane. Had no idea that you had to calibrate the compass. I figured it was just always right. But you have to calibrate it, match it up with the one up at the top that is correct. Different mechanisms that make them work, I guess. And the one up at the top is always going to be correct. So, alright. Sorry my kids are yelling in the background. I'm trying to keep them quiet the best that I can, but we're getting pretty close to attempting to put this thing down. Let's hope that this flight has a happy ending and the landing isn't a total fiasco like the approach has been. Alright, so this time we're making a right base. We have actual visual confirmation.
Kilo Echo Lima Yankee traffic Cessna Bravo Golf Tree is on final runway 18 to land.
So we have actual visual confirmation that this is indeed runway 18. So we will be landing on the correct runway after that whole just absolute fiasco of an approach. Almost crashed our plane right in the airport property in between the two runways. I'm serious. I think that was the stall buzzer that was starting to sound. That little buzz. It was like a split-second buzz, but my goodness. We were so close to crashing this thing and costing ourselves $5,000. I never could have recovered out of a stall from that low of an altitude. Not a chance. I would have been done. Completely done for right there. Okay. Finally, after 20 minutes of flying around in circles up here, we are lined up with the correct runway and are coming in on final. This mine inspector's crapping his pants. He's like, never again. I'll fly commercial into Salt Lake and have somebody taxi me over to Ely. Get an Uber. He is like, never again will I have this guy fly me anywhere. Not a chance. He's gonna leave us a Yelp review. Really hurt our business. Okay, let's put this down. Let's do this right. Let's salvage a little bit of our pride and dignity that's pretty much gone out the window. So there's a few sketchy moments in this flight. Crossing that ridge earlier just north of Vegas where we got hit with the downdraft. Just about knocked us out of the sky sideways. And then nearly stalling at like 70 feet above ground level. That was pretty wild, guys. Hopefully not all of our flights are that adventurous. Alright, we're on short final here. Keeping our speed right around 50 knots, that looks good. Vertical speed around 200 feet. Descending around 200 feet per minute. That looks alright for right now. Now we're back down around 300, 200. Getting a little bit of choppiness here. Again, the wind is coming from the just off to the left just a tiny bit, so we're having to fight the wind. It's about 13-14 miles an hour, which is quite a bit for this little light Cessna 152, so it keeps pushing us a little bit to the right. We keep having to kind of correct and go left just a little bit. We might have to use a little bit of rudder to straighten out right before touchdown here, just kind of like we did in Boulder City. Shouldn't need to be a ton though, because it is mostly a straight headwind, just slightly from left to right. Looks like we're keeping our nose pretty straight. And go ahead and sit her down nice and lightly if we can. We're floating a little bit. Come on now. There we go. Did give it a little bit of rudder. Push our nose back to the right just a smidge. Not bad. We floated a little bit. Floated down the runway just a little bit more than I would like. But it was a nice soft touchdown actually. Didn't do the little skip or the little skiff of the wheel that we did back in Boulder City. Put it down pretty nicely, to be honest. Just the only bad part was just floating a little bit. Floating down the runway just a bit. Maybe trying to be a little too fine. Okay. We're down safely in Ely, Nevada. This dude can go make his accident report. And we're going to look here at how we did. So we pull up to the fuel station. Alright. We started at 9.75 gallons in each tank. And we have 2.12 gallons remaining in each tank. So we started with 75% fuel. We've got 16% fuel left. So that was a look at our fuel. Now let's move over here and shut her down. Pretty quiet airport here today in Ely. I don't know what negative 20 Celsius is, but it seems like it's probably somewhere in single digits, maybe Fahrenheit. All right. Okay, so that flight took us a total of 2 hours and 49 minutes, which was way longer than it should have. One takeoff, one landing, a couple of near crashes. But we did make it here in one piece. A few tense moments. But a successful landing. And obviously didn't do anything... Did a lot of things wrong, obviously, in that flight. We'll continue to try to get better and improve, but let's take a look at our earnings from job number 2 here. Look at Ely, Nevada. Town is just over under the hills right there. Okay, our starting balance was $56,016.88. 203 nautical miles. We earned $10,150. We used 30.52 gallons of gas, which cost us $366.24. Our ending balance after job number 2 is $65,800.64. So we've got 2 out of a minimum of 10 jobs done in the Las Vegas area. We may do more than 10. I'm not 100% sure what we will end at, but we have to do at least 10. That was the rules that we set back in episode number 1 that we're going to stick to. All right, job number 2 is in the books. Gold mine accident in Ely, Nevada is finished. And up next, we'll have job number 3 from Career Mode, Las Vegas, on Mama's Basement.